Welcome to week 2 of Weaves That Wow. We are going to continue to work this same orientation of our poles this week. Our base is still at 3 and 9 o'clock, but now we will be adding proofs so that our dogs get used to seeing us moving, changing positions, crossing, adding pressure of lines, and they still understand to find that entry and drive towards their 12 o'clock. All right, let's get started. It's a good idea to change the orientation of your poles within your space. Last week we had our poles in our 12 o'clock facing our wall over here. This time we've changed our orientation so that the dog doesn't assume that it's always heading towards one wall or towards a tree in your yard or something like that. So this time our 12 o'clock is heading that way. My poles are still at 3 and 9. The dog still goes in the same direction. If your dog can work the clock all the way around, we will now add some proofs. First one is motion. So can my dog find that entry even if I am moving with the dog or moving laterally away from the dog? Right, so we'll show you. Okay. So being able to send him, go, and having him go through, and moving away, sending him. And all I'm looking for is that he continues on the job and ignores my motion and allows me to move around without looking back at the handler. We can also work on wing wraps into our clock so that again the dog is learning to deal with a little bit of motion and more speed than they are used to. So we can do our dig, 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 and then into the poles. My wing can move around my clock. I'll just do a couple more to show you. And you can see he's able to find that entry really with no help from me. He understands where he's going. I would work this all the way around on both sides of the clock. Okay. We can also start some handling moves. So we're going to work on rear crossing. We would start with the dog at 6 o'clock. Okay, sending him ahead and working on crossing behind the dog so that again they get used to that pressure on their line. So we would do 5 o'clock. Go. And being able to cross behind, and again he commits to the job and ignores me. Okay, go. More pressure, and as we work around the clock, it gets harder and harder as we put all of that pressure on the dog's line, and they need to stay with their job and not flick away. So we're getting kind of between 2 and 3 o'clock, same thing. Okay, go. Sending him, and he continues on his job. And I would work that all the way around on both sides of the clock. We can work on other converging lines similar to a serpentine. I find these ones a bit easier to start around a wing, but you could also leave the dog in a stay. So sending them tick, tick, chirp, chirp, tick, 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 and then moving away from the dog, and they come in and turn away from the path to find their entry. And so sending him around, being able to move away, and they come in and find that entry. We can also work weave threadles. So a threadle is when the dog needs to flick away from the handler to find their path. It is another type of converging line, but more of an extreme convergence. So if the dog was coming from over here, my opposite hand is my threadle hand. It's what tells the dog to come in and flick away from the handler. And I should not need to do any kind of big motion to help the dog. Right now, just that opposite hand should be enough. I can start with the dog in a sit. Sit, sit, thank you. And then my opposite hand, okay. He sees that opposite hand and he knows the information to flick away. And then I would move the dog around the clock again. He's in a sit. That opposite hand will come up. I will give him his, okay. find that entry on his own. You work a little bit more. Once he's getting it, you may not need the sit anymore, just an okay, and that opposite hand, and he goes around and finds it. I can also add motion to that, so once he's ready, give him that opposite hand, and he knows to continue and find that flip away into the entry. And again, we would work that on both sides of the body. Okay. Perfect. We can also work on the wing wrap into the threadle, so again, once the dog understands the path, being able to go tick, 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 showing that opposite hand, and he understands to go and flip away. So doing it with no motion, and then I can do it again with my motion. And opposite hand, dog goes and finds their path on their own. Go ahead. Yes. We can also work crossing at the exit of our poles, so being able to do front crosses or blind crosses after the dog has gone through the poles, so that again they are getting used to that motion from the